I don't know, y'all. That other light might have been enough. Here. I have been bouncing off the wall, but I don't know. I mean, what do you think? I guess that's not too bad. That might be a little better, though.
Looked about the same, honestly.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Alright, I'm gonna go without the big light today for now. Because that one puts...
Hot?
Yeah, that one puts out a good amount of heat. And it's actually not melting into a puddle hot in here at the moment, so I'd like to keep it that way for as long as we can. Alright. So I am zoomed in a little bit because we're working on the trees and it's easier to see that way. Okay. Have our fluff. Let's put our tools together. And finger doodles. We're getting closer to being done this one. Probably not going to finish today because I started late and I do apologize. Late happens a lot of the time. The time on the listed schedule is always in suggestion of a possible start time. More often than not, I am running late, though. So hello, everybody. It is the weekend. Well, it's the end of the weekend, really. Hope y'all had a decent one. Tell you, my allergies are kicking off today, though. I don't know who decided to anger them, but anger they are. Alright. Now, keep forgetting that this doesn't have to be in the middle of the dang pad here. Okay. So when we last left off with Bob, and I know it's really probably hard to see in that tutorial in the corner because everything's dark. We were in the process of working on our palm tree guy here. And we're going to start to put in our next little army guy. Although that got a lot shorter than I was anticipating, so... Just gonna double him up a little bit. And get him tapped in here. Yeah, so hope everybody had a good weekend. Tell me, what did you do this weekend? Anything fun? Did you hide at home? Did you get any projects done around the house? I would love to know. So we'll probably like try to take this one like off the edge here, is what I'm thinking. Oh. And I'll just start to get our little fingery guys in here. Don't know why I put the scissors all the way over there. We're going to be needing them quite a bit. It's kind of hard to do the, okay, let me stab and then flip it over and then stab back in the other direction to flip it over when we're doing the little palmy frond guys. Like sometimes you can get away with doing that depending on what you're doing. So we got all kinds of fuzz colors joining in here. Stray little fuzzes. So I know it was a bit of a rough weekend here in the States, all things considered, but we're not going to talk about that today. I think a lot of people's brains are on overload at the moment, so I was asking if anybody did anything fun, got any projects caught up on. I've been in kind of like a time vacuum this week for some reason. I don't know, time hasn't really existed, but yet has been speeding by. It's been a strange week. I mean, I had hurt my neck earlier in the week, and then it's like we've got this one guy here. We might be able to bend him over. At the most, you'll be able to get like a V out of it. I don't think you're gonna get more than that. Then it'll become pretty obvious with the flipping up and down. Okay, again, this is just a step that I do. You don't have to do this. It just helps me keep everything kind of flatter on the front, so I don't have too many ridges and valleys and stuff happening. Alright, so we're working on getting that guy in. We had the WoW Challenges podcast 300th episode this weekend, so that was fun. We had a little party down in Booty Bay. We had some folks show up for that, and we got to ask Alita a few questions. Oh, did she need anything for dinner? 'Cause she's out there. Sorry, like I said, I've not been feeling well, so I haven't been on top of the dishes. Plus we had the weird water main break, and the water went funky, and it kind of screwed up my personal schedule for the day on that day, and then like ever since then this week's just been me trying to frantically catch up with everything that needed doing. It's been crazy. Alright.
Nope, she's good.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Alright, so now we're gonna do our next guy here. And this one kinda goes up. And we're a little close to the edge here. So it's probably, you know, my fault and shit, but that's okay. And, okay, we're gonna just kind of take that up to the edge there. And snip that into place. Now I do see where we have a bit of a split trying to open up right there, so we might try to take some of those palm fronds up. And I'll just see if we can make that a little bit less splitty, but I don't see how that seems to want to cooperate here. So I'm gonna grab a little bit more black. I have got to get some more fluff fluffed. Don't really think we need quite that much black fluff, but I'm just gonna kind of roll it into a floofy ball here. Oh yeah, we don't, this is too big. That is too big for that space in here. Yeah, so I don't know how well the break was showing there, the split in the background. The base didn't split, it's just the colors were, the black was separating a little bit just because we've been working up in this area now. Was pulling the other fibers tighter. Nothing we're not unfamiliar with happening. But that's okay, because we can sort of fix it. Alright. That one spot is still being just a little bit stubborn. It's not really showing on camera, but you can sort of see it in person. So we'll give it one more touch up here. Before we hit that up with our little palm tree fingers. All right. do a little snipping. Well, that was a loud truck. Kind of a slow mover too. I wonder if that was a semi that went by. Alright, I think we are... Yes. I have to keep checking to make sure I'm unmuted, because we mute for Minecraft. And we haven't done Minecraft in a couple of days. I'm hoping that we can get back to that tomorrow. We might do a late night Minecraft tonight. It really depends on all of the things. Since I wasn't feeling well this week, everything else kind of went to shit that I was working on, so... Yeah, like the most I'm willing to flip this over is for like a V shape. So we are following along with the Bob Ross oil painting tutorial series, The Joy of Painting, Season 3. And we are following episode 2 at the moment. And trying to follow it, not with paint this time. We've done paint in the past. We are trying to follow along with needle felting. Now, when a lot of people hear needle felting, they think of the little figurines that you can make, like our buddy Marvin here, our mascot, our channel mascot Marvin. But you can also make flat pictures with it. So kind of like embroidery. Oh my god, if this was done in embroidery floss, holy shit. Y'all, that'd be expensive. Like the same size piece? I mean, you might not need that much black, because I mean, I think there is black, I think you can get like, what is it? Is it muslin? You know, your embroidery fabric. Is it cotton? Is it muslin? I'm not sure. But, I mean, I know embroidery floss isn't that expensive, but holy shit. That would be a lot. Uh-oh. Something's going on in the kitchen. I don't know what. I hear the husband getting uppity. He might just be giving my mom shit, though. Entirely possible. My mom can do some really odd things at times. I kind of have to keep an eye on her when she's in the kitchen. That spot still wants to be troublesome. Alright, so let's Let's just reflatten that out. Just a bit there. Now, traditionally, people will generally use roving to wool roving to do this, and probably works pretty well for the figurines and stuff, and you know, it might work pretty well for this. However, wool roving can be expensive, so if you are on a really tight budget, you can see about doing an alternative medium in acrylic yarn, which is what this is. This is acrylic yarn. You do have to do a bit more prep work with it. So if you're not opposed to doing that, that didn't quite snake together how I wanted it to. It got a little chunky, and then it got a little too thin. Alright, let's see. I think I want to do one more. Don't worry about it looking a little ragged here. We will get that fixed up here in just a minute. So if you want to do the acrylic yarn, you basically cut lengths of it that you think you can handle. You know, I wouldn't go longer than like 6 inches at a time. You can if you want, if you can manage it, but I think 6 is about the max that I do. And then you get a sticker brush, which is a pet grooming brush. It has a bunch of little metal angled spikes on it, for lack of a better term, teeth, whatever you want to call it. And you can put, like, you can cut a notch in a piece of cardboard and sit the pieces of yarn in the notch, or you know, or you can just kind of hold it over the one end and then you brush the yarn out with the brush, with the sticker brush, and it untwists it and floofs it, and then you can stab your needle with it that way. I keep forgetting I don't need to be right on the edge of this pad, but I keep, you know, taking it back over. Because of reasons I don't know, I'm like bound and determined this is going to be sitting on that edge. Right, so we are basically putting in our dark of our trees first, our fronds here, and then we'll come back and put in our highlights where we think they're going to be needed. Now, our trees aren't going to look exactly the same. Nothing is going to look exactly the same as Bob's. We can kind of give it a close impression but it's not going to be 100% the same. And it really shouldn't be 100% the same, because, you know, then nothing of you is in there if you are just straight up following stroke for stroke. I mean, you want to give it a little bit of you in there, basically, is how I see it. Kind of down to the last little bit of fuzz on that section, so could probably get away with folding that little bit over. I do have a little bit of a thin spot there that's showing up, so let me grab the black again after I just put it away. Because of course that happens after we put that away. Alright, I'm just gonna pull off a little piece, little guy. And I'm just gonna kinda get that tucked into there. I have to remember to change my icons over to summer now. We still have the spring one going. And in fact, I may have never changed the one over on YouTube on my my watermark on the video in the corner. I think I may have forgotten to. That one still might be the winter mingo. Gotta get our summer gear on here. Yes, we do. Alright, let's see. Let's flip this guy up. Oh, we still missed it. How are we missing it? How? I've got this pretty thick in here. Whoop! Come back, needle. The shadow's in the way, my hand's in the way. We're working without the bigger light today. We didn't see much of a difference today without it. If we're still going as it, well, no, I don't think we'll still be going when it gets dark. But if it starts to get darker in here, then we can pop that bad boy on. Let's see, is this enough now? Yeah, I think that's good now. Alright, we can go back to finishing up our palm frond here. Alright. So I know I'm not the greatest Minecraft player ever, but I'm kind of having fun. Just kind of dicking around. I don't really have a grand plan in place for what we're doing over there. My dock didn't quite work out the way I wanted it to, but I'm not good at trying to fudge circular things. And I've never really tried to build a boat before. So I don't know if I'm gonna put like a fake trade boat in there right now. It wasn't really supposed to be that industrial of a dock to begin with. It was just supposed to be like a little fishing village town. So it probably won't be anything too crazy. I know I've been doing a lot of walking back and forth because I keep forgetting stuff that I need, or changing my mind about what I was gonna do, or, you know, miscounting and being like, shit, I need more of X. Everything okay out there? Oh, that wasn't husband. That was the cat. Okay. I thought I heard the husband sit down in his chair. The cat must have, nudged it. So I'm almost done the one article that I've been working on for WoW challenges, and then I'll be able to have my Tuesdays back for a little bit. And I can concentrate on getting more work done on our paint by number. I feel bad that I haven't had much time to get a whole lot done on that lately. But hopefully we can get that done soon. Sorry, I'm looking at my wax smelter, and it's color changing, and it seems to think it's at a rave. Cause it's flashing like crazy instead of its steady, slow color rotation. You okay there, buddy? Weird. Alright. That's just gonna do its thing over there, I suppose. Alright, so let's work on getting some support structure for our next tree here. Yeah, so we've got the Michael's Minecraft. And again, I'm not going to be advertising on Twitter or really making note of when we are going live for that. It's usually going to be later at night. Usually. We might do an afternoon one here and there if I have time. But it's more of a chill, let's wind down sort of thing. Which is why we're in peaceful mode. We can always do we could do a hardcore playthrough, or we could do just regular survival mode. I'll probably do survival mode. I mean, we could try hardcore. I've done hardcore before. I've got a couple of hardcore maps. Alright, let's see. I'm gonna advance our tutorial here just a bit, just to kind of get an idea of what we're doing for fronds over here. So 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and then he's okay, he's gonna do it with like the lighter gray here. I mean, we could. Do that, I suppose. So we need to be thinking about that. Alright, where do we want this guy to... Oof, right in the middle. Right in the middle. Alright. That was very brave. Very brave of us. Doesn't make it any less scary, but... Oop. Sorry. I don't know what you are. But you don't live here. There we go. Something got on there. Alright. I really wanted pizza for dinner today, but I need to find our mixing bowl for our mixer. I think it's still buried in the sink. Like I said, we've been struggling to catch up. Husband's been helping a little bit. But it's also been just mind-numbingly hot in this house, and standing over a sink of hot water. I mean, the AC can only do so much. See if my neck will cooperate later to get some stuff done there. Alright. Let's grab another section of floof here. And we'll go ahead and start to kind of stretch that out a little bit thinner. I find it easier to work with the longer lengths for this part and then just snip it, because it's kind of hard to hold on to like the tiny sized pieces we would need. And you know, as you go, what you think is the right size might actually be a little short, so it's just kind of easier to start out a little bit longer and then just kind of snip to suit our needs here. Sorry, I just realized I was like, oh, am I in camera frame? I might not be. I am excited to get to our painting project. And that'll be starting soon when we're done this one. We'll take a break from stabbing things for a while. And we'll drag out our paints again for a little bit. And we'll work on our flamingo guy. I really should get the husbands to make us... Oh! That scared me. Holy shit. Sorry about that. Oh, I wasn't expecting that. Thank you for the follow. My flamingo scared the shit out of me. Oh man. I never expected it to happen. So I should see if he can get us a sub emote with a little painter flamingo guy. Maybe a little beret. You do like to make an entrance. Former theater kid, this is very on brand. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to react like that. I never expect it to go off, and then when it does go off, if I'm that involved in what I'm doing, sometimes it scares me. I don't know, I was just like totally in the zone. I hope you are doing well today. But yeah, we need a little painter flamingo guy emote. Most definitely. Very cool. You've never seen someone use roving like this. Use it sometimes to felt details onto... I'm gonna pronounce this wrong. Amigurumi? I've heard people say it, but I can never say it. It's the little, like, I think I know what it is, though. It's the little knitted, like the little knitted figures, I think, is what we're... Amigurumi. Yes, there we go. Like, I've heard some people, say it, but I've never been able to pronounce the word. I'm a bit dyslexic. Crochet. Okay, yeah. I'm a little dyslexic, so sometimes it's hard for me to get the pronunciations right in my head, and then I'm not sure if I'm actually seeing the letters in the right order. Sometimes I'm good. Other times it's a complete disaster. But yeah, I saw somebody do a video on YouTube with it, and I was like, ooh, that's cool. We've done some others. Oh, let me stab you in there so I don't lose you or stab myself. I saw someone do a video on YouTube with it like 2 years ago, and I was like, I want to do that. Took me a year to get the opportunity to get the supplies. But when we finally got around to getting it, I've been having fun. And I was kind of at a loss of, well, what do we want to make? Aims for Amis. Something like that. The little crochet guys. I was kind of at a loss of what we wanted to do. I am going to zoom out here so we can see this a little bit better. So camera's gonna get weird. You're gonna see a bunch of crap on my desk, because I have a very small work area at the moment. So I was kind of at a loss, I was like, oh, well, we can do this, we can do this. And I was like, well, but what do we want to do? And we followed the Bob Ross tutorials with oil paint before. We did that a couple of times. And I've seen people, do different things with the paint, but still using paint. I saw one person do frosting. I was like, hey, idea. What if we do it with needle felting. So this was from the first episode tutorial of season 3. And this one didn't come out half bad. Oh, that shadow's in the way. There we go. I was gonna say that black blob's not actually there. That's a shadow. So I mean, it didn't come out bad. Amies. Okay, there we go. The felted chicken. I have a felted chicken. I have a picture of it on my Instagram. That was a Mother's Day present for my mom. That thing took me like 2 days and was very heavy for what it was. Yes. Thank you. We don't have a whole lot up on Instagram. I've got more of a in-depth gallery on the Kofi page. I don't remember if I put the chicken on the Kofi page. I've got so many things I have to keep track of. Sometimes I do like 2 things and forget to do the rest, and then, you know, things happen, and then like 3 months later I'm like, oh, I never put this there? Well, shit. Let's fix that. Like, I have to get some stuff posted on the Etsy shop. The Etsy shop's empty at the moment. I didn't have the funds to post on Etsy for a little bit. I've got a little bit of money, so I need to go back through my inventory and see what I still have and what we're going to repost. I still have most of the magnets that I did have up there. Like the one series we did for the Bob Ross tutorial following with paint, we made magnets out of them. I have those here somewhere, but the photos are on Kofi, I think, for those, or most of them. We only sold a couple, so I probably still have the majority of them left. And I've got a bunch of ideas for stuff I want to do. We generally do art right now just on Sunday. So basic stream schedule is Wednesday we do World of Warcraft for right now. We're winding down our World of Warcraft project. We still have a little ways to go, but we'll be taking a break from WoW in a little bit. And I am part of the WoW Challenges community, where it's like they've been caretaking like the Iron Man challenge, and they've got a bunch of different other stuff. Basically kind of, you know, trying to get to max level under different rule parameters and not playing as you would normally. Basically is what that's all about over there. I participate in their Bloodthirsty challenge. Among other things, I also do a bunch of stuff to help out with the podcast they have. So right now, Wednesday is basically World of Warcraft stuff. Thursday, right now, we're doing Parkitect. And Friday, we're doing Planet Zoo. Saturday, I take the day off from my channel because I'm busy helping over with the podcast on Saturdays, because that gets recorded live on Twitch on their channel. And a lot of times I'm either helping co-host or I'm modding in the chat, and then I do some like post-production stuff at the end of the night to help get that sorted and ready for posting in other places. After the affiliate 24-hour thing finishes, so I have to schedule stuff to go up in different places. Your Twitter link at the top of your links seems to be broken, by the way. Oh, really? The Twitter link at the top of your links. Alright, I will take a look at that. The Twitter link. Alright, hang on. My brain channel. My Twitter link. Why is my Twitter link broken? My brain. I don't want to hear myself. Huh. Interesting. Alright, well, let me grab that. Yeah, I just saw that. Alright, alright, well, let me grab the Twitter. We can grab that real quick. Copy. Alright, well, this is the proper Twitter. Is it gonna let me edit? Doop-a-doo. I don't see the edit panel. Doop-a-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Oh, you know what? That's in a different spot. That's where that is. Okay. I can't remember shit, so, go to settings. Here we go. Can I display link social? I don't know why that's being weird. Let's try again. Alright, let's see. Let's go back to channel. Let's see if this fixed it. You found it anyhow? Well, that's good. That's good. Okay, there we go. Alright, let's see. Oh, okay, the little birdie's there now. I was wondering why the little bird wasn't showing. Okay, that should be fixed now. Alright. Okay, cool. Is everything okay out there?
Yeah.
Well, I heard yelling, so I wasn't sure what was happening. Okay. So it was in jest yelling then, not meaningful yelling. What stupid thing did my mom do this time? Huh?
I didn't say nothing.
No, I asked you. What did she do?
Oh, she just did onion rings for herself and,
No, what did she do that you were giving her shit about?
Oh, your dad's meal was basically a bunch of cheese with more cheese on top.
Right, so more salt and shit that he doesn't need. Well, I guess she's just tired of listening to him bitching. And after the week that it's been, I don't necessarily blame her. But, man, those two are like oil and vinegar, I swear. So we have an interesting household set up out of necessity. So, we live with my mother-in-law. And, she's not here right now. She's away on a trip with her sister. And, due to circumstances, my dad ended up moving in as well. And then somehow my mom ended up here. So, so all of the parental units are here under the same roof. Some days it's better than others, shall we say. Other days are, you just want to rip your hair out and run away screaming. Necessity, really, life circumstances. It's just the way things worked out. But now the husband and I have everybody in one location that we can keep an eye on, basically. To try to keep them from getting too too out of hand. Because my parents are in their late 70s. I don't know how old his mom is. How old's your mom? 60s? Mid-60s? He's ignoring me.
Well, I'm thinking.
Oh.
She's 72 this year.
Oh, okay. So she's not that much younger than my parents.
Yeah.
Actually, I can't remember how old my dad is. My dad's older than my mom, I think. No. My mom older than him. I don't remember. One of them was born in 41 and one of them was born in 43. I can't remember who was who. I'm terrible with dates. If you couldn't tell that already. Sorry, I had a little split open up here, so I'm just trying to cover that as best as we can here. So yeah, just like medical circumstances and things, so it's just easier with everybody being in one spot and finances being pulled together. So due to medical and financial reasons and life circumstances, our sanity is being tested at every turn. So suffice it to say, it's his loss, if you ask me. Okay, I get that. Yeah, how to word this? My family is, interesting. The parents aren't always the best of people. There was a period of 6 or 7 months where I wasn't speaking to my mother at all because things, and it's complicated, but let's just say boundaries are set and constantly trampled on, but she's under our roof due to circumstances and things, but it's just how it is right now. We don't get along that well, but she's behaving and I'm being civil. I don't think the relationship would ever be what it once was. Although, to be quite frank, it was never really that grand, wholesome. I don't know what word to stick on there. It was never that awesome a relationship to begin with, but let's just say life just likes to kick us in the teeth, husband and I. So it's been an interesting ride so far. Some things I wish had turned out differently, but if they had turned out differently, who's to say that other good things that happened would have? So, you know, kind of just have to scream into the void at times and try to keep going, basically. You never had a falling out with your mom, but you did with your dad twice. Yeah, ever a chance. Yeah, I mean, you know, things are weird and things happen, and they're both not the best people. They both have their their shortcomings and their issues. I mean, nobody's perfect. I'm sure if we all were examined by somebody else, we'd all have stuff we're not, that they would say are not our shining moments. But circumstances being what they were, like, my dad's not the greatest person in the world, but he also didn't necessarily deserve the amount of shit that was handed to him. They came close to getting, they were separated for a while. I thought it was gonna come to them divorcing. I mean, they were both married before, so it's not like it's that earth-shattering, but there's reasons why I fully believe that my mom decided to play nice. One being age, another being financial. Can't prove it, just my feelings on the matter. But our husbands and I circumstance at the moment is benefiting from them both being here. So, you know, we are getting something out of it. They are giving us basically kind of rent money for being here, because they were originally talking about getting an apartment, and then that didn't happen, and we're like, well, look, if you just give us the money that you would have been paying for rent somewhere else, that's fine. So it's kind of working out at the moment in a weird half-assed kind of way. So sometimes we just gotta take it on the nose and just keep moving forward as best as we can. Yeah, I mean, well, see, husband has some medical issues himself, so he's trying to get on disability, and they've been dragging it as hard as possible, and we've had to get a lawyer involved now and all sorts of shit. So you know, life's been tough, but we're just trying to muddle our way through as best as we can. And so them being here right now, no matter how much it drives us up the wall, we are sort of getting something out of it. So it's criminal what they make people go through sometimes for disability or back payment. Yeah, he applied March of 2021. We got a rejection letter in, I think, October of 2021 for failure to produce requested documents, but we never got the request to produce said documents. So we were really confused, and we're like, what are you talking about? Like, nobody ever sent us a letter. Nobody ever contacted us. Nobody emailed us. Like, nothing. It was a wall of silence until that showed up. And they're like, you have 45 days to appeal. And so we got a lawyer. That took some finding before anybody wanted to touch us, because, you know, most lawyers are looking for a payday, and I mean, that's their job. I don't blame them, but one of the ones that was recommended to us didn't want anything to do with us because, you know, we're just working retail jobs, so it wasn't like it was a professional career job where there was going to be large monthly payments or anything, so. But we finally found somebody that was willing to try to help us. And, so, like, since November, we've been working on jumping through more hoops that they have been wanting us to do. And now we're hearing that we're supposed to be getting more information in the mail about something else they want us to do. They couldn't just tell us over the phone. I guess it had to be in writing that we received it. But our lawyer's supposed to receive a copy of it too, so there's a paper trail. We haven't received that yet. I don't know how long it's going to take for that to happen. Well, this is getting difficult to see because we're right over this section of cloud here. But it's been an effing nightmare. You were on unemployment when the pandemic started, but then they held your payments because you reported income. Talk about backwards bullshit. Couldn't get anyone on the phone to help you with your account. It's busy for hours straight. Yeah. I was on unemployment once, and that was scary. Because my employer, it was a really fucked up situation. So, I worked for a casino in New Jersey for a while. Well, I guess for about a total of 6 years altogether. Something like that. And, I worked in their in-house credit department. So, I was taking applications from people that wanted to apply for basically credit from the casino to gamble on. I think I was there about 3 years at that point. I worked a grave shift. When I started working there, I was working 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. So kind of not entirely grave shift, but I overlapped into grave shift. I covered the bulk of it, basically. They had somebody else that came in at 4 a.m. If they put half the energy and time into resources they pour into blockading people who actually need assistance and stuff, like, yeah, totally agree. It just, priorities are really fucked up. It's like, if we had the programs that we needed for assistance when things go south, maybe things wouldn't be so bad, but, it would take people actually giving a shit, and both sides of the lawmakers actually working together for the greater good instead of the good of that very moment. But, what can you do? Except hope to elect better people into positions of power as time goes on after they show you your true color. Their true colors. But, so you used food stamps, WIC, unemployment, etc. when needed, and state-funded health insurance. We actually, while the husband and I were working for Walmart, we were actually, we could have been on food stamps, on WIC, I think. No, SNAP. We could have been on SNAP. That's what they call it down here. But because we lived with the mother-in-law, the way the program was set up, they said that we had too much household income and we didn't qualify. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? She's on Social Security. We were barely getting like $10 an hour. And they're like, nope. I'm like, okay, sure. You bet. That's fine. I mean, we don't have a kid, so if we had a kid, we probably would have qualified. But we don't, so was like, okay, whatever. Thanks. And, they sent us on our merry way. So when I was working for the casino in New Jersey, I was their 8 to 4 overnight person. Sometimes there'd be somebody there till 2 a.m. Helping me do paperwork and dealing with customers. Other times it would just be me and the front desk person that was making decisions on line of credits and things. Because there had to be 2 people for anybody to get approved, right? Because if you ran the paperwork on the file and did the legwork on it, you weren't allowed to make a decision as to whether or not that person was going to get approved. Red tape, bureaucracy, and all that shit, and checks and balances. I can see that, because, New Jersey casinos weren't exactly known for their stellar clean business practices at a time, so, those red tape and bureaucracy rulings came about for reasons, and I'm okay with that. I wouldn't want to be making decisions like that anyhow. But I got laid off very suddenly. My boss called me, and he was almost hysterical. So, each department has minions and directors and things, and because there's so many employees, right? So, and my director has his own boss, and up from there and things. So he called me, and he was so upset. He was almost crying on the phone, and I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, I just got handed a bunch of paperwork and was informed that you were laid off. You were not supposed to be laid off. I didn't want you laid off. I had no choice in the matter. They made the decision for me, and I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like, well, what do I do now? And he's like, go and apply for unemployment. He goes, do whatever you need to for unemployment. He's like, but don't get another job yet. Don't go looking for another job yet. He goes, I am fighting this. And he's like, I'm going to try to get you rehired. He goes, you should not have been laid off. He goes, I need you. And I was like, okay. It was kind of weird to actually have a boss that gave a shit. As much as they could within the power that they had. So, our local food bank tends to have... Well, that's not the food bank. That's a free pantry.
Oh, excuse me, is it?
Yeah, it's not technically a food bank. It's a free pantry that people in the town set up for those that need a... that are on hard times and can't get help anywhere. Though at one point it seemed like people that didn't really need the help were raiding the free pantry because, you would see a shit ton of stuff dropped off and then within an hour it would be all gone.
Where's Bethel Heights?
Where?
Oh, wow. Okay.
There's multiple Bethel Heights. What state are we talking?
Arkansas, of course.
Isn't that up by Bella Vista?
It's up past Springdale.
Okay, so it's between Springdale and Bentonville. Kinda. Why?
Because that's the only one that's showing up in Arkansas.
I think there's one in Fayetteville.
They have a mobile one that goes through Fayetteville at some point.
But yeah, the one that we will donate stuff to that wound up in our pantry that we realized isn't going to get eaten, we will drop it off. At our town's level free pantry, but the free pantry's outside. It's in a little alcove of a building. So, I mean, yeah, some days you'll see bugs running through there and stuff, and there's no refrigerator, but people will announce on one of the Facebook pages when they're dropping off cold stuff, so people can get their butts over there to see if it's something they want before it gets to the point where it's been sitting out too long. It's just basically something that the townspeople were running and not even anybody official in the town. It just kind of started with community members doing it. And it's available 24/7. So if you're stressed or embarrassed about your situation, you know, you can run by in the middle of the night. There's generally not anybody around. But yeah, so the director, my immediate boss, he's like, no, I'm gonna fight this. And I had to do some requirements for unemployment in New Jersey. Like they want you to make it look like you're looking for another job. So I had to like kind of apply for things that I knew I was not qualified for here and there, or else they would revoke it. And then I got a letter that I was halfway through my unemployment, and I was like, fuck. And he called me, and he's like, I'm still fighting. He's like, don't give up yet. He goes, I'm still trying. He's like, I'm getting closer. I was like, okay. So I was out of work for 6 months on unemployment before he managed to get me hired back. However, I had to come back at a pay cut. I wasn't even making that much to begin with. Like, when I started working there, I was making like $9 an hour. As it was, I took a pay cut to go there from the craft store that I was working at. I was making $9.50 when I left the craft store, when I left AC Moore. And they couldn't justify paying me $9.50 because I had no experience at the time. And this was several years ago. And I think when minimum wage was still 7 something in Jersey. And yeah, we are currently in Arkansas. We kind of went backwards, but we kind of didn't have a choice in the matter at the time. But my schedule was also fucked. I couldn't have the same schedule because other people had been laid off, so schedules had to get rearranged. So he managed to get me hired back at part-time. And he goes, it gets you in the door. He goes, I will get you back up to full-time as soon as possible, but this gets you back in the door at least and in the building. And I was like, oh, all right. So, you know, I kind of took what I could. I mean, the man did fight to get my job back, so he didn't have to. He most certainly didn't have to. But at the same time, I was like his only competent overnight person that he could trust to be the only clerk back there doing paperwork, which was kind of interesting. Because I remember training like 2 other people, and the one girl was pregnant when she got hired, but they didn't realize she was pregnant, and they didn't realize how pregnant she was. So by the time we finished training her, she went out on maternity leave, like a week later. And I was like, oh, okay. It had been winter, and she'd had like a big heavy winter coat on. I mean, you know, not that they could discriminate, and they shouldn't, but we just didn't know that was what was gonna happen. And it was like, oh, okay. So I trained a helper for like 2 months, and then the week after we finished training them, they went out on maternity leave. I'm like, okay, cool. Because we were desperate for clerks that could be on their own. We really needed somebody there overnight. I felt so bad. She was sitting there falling asleep half the time. I had to keep like nudging her. I'm like, wake up, you can't fall asleep. There was about 5,500 cameras where we were working, because we were working in the main cashier cage. So, you know, cameras everywhere, keeping an eye on the money and everything. And our desk was like right by where the cashiers were walking back and forth to get change and settling out their windows. And we were surrounded, basically, and we weren't allowed to touch the money. No chips, no checks, no nothing. If people were paying off their credit line, they had to go to the cashier. We couldn't touch it. We could get tips, but we had to make sure that we showed the camera that it was a tip, and then, you know, put it in our pocket, and then not touch our pocket for the rest of the day. And if anybody was clerking with us. We had to share it with whoever was on shift at that point in time. I only ever got, I think I got a tip once. Maybe twice. I don't remember what the second amount was. The first amount, some kid had come in. I mean, he was old enough to gamble. He was probably 22, if that. Like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. I was the only clerk on. He wanted credit. The exec had looked at him, who made the decision on whether he got credit or not. She was kind of like, I don't know. He seemed to be like playing stock market trading on his laptop, and she wasn't real impressed with him. And I was beginning to get the feeling that she wasn't going to give him anything. She gave him something. I can't remember what it was. I don't know if it was 500, 1,000, something like that. We sent him on his way. Dude came back, I don't know, maybe an hour later, because I think I was there till, how late was I working at that point? I think that was my 2 a.m. to 10 a.m. shift that I was doing at that point. And I'll tell you, going into a 2 a.m. shift in Atlantic City was tough, because I didn't want to travel on my own at that time of night, and I was taking public transit. It was a little scary at times, so I would try to come in at like midnight, so I didn't have to be traveling on my own without that many people out and about. And I would have to like sit upstairs in the cafeteria and, you know, read or something until my shift started. That wasn't fun. But anyhow, he came back like an hour later, and the exec and I kind of looked at each other, and we were like, oh no, don't tell us he ran out of money and he wants an increase already, because that ain't gonna happen. And he went in the high roller windows and paid off his credit line. And then he tipped me $200 and he tipped the exec $200. But because of her license level, because we had to be licensed to work there, it basically involved background checks and paying the state money to do what we did, because we handled sensitive financial documentation and things. So they had to make sure that, you know, we were background checked and everything. She couldn't keep the tip because of the level of her license. I could keep tips. So she handed me the $200 he gave her after he left, and she's like, here. And I was like, okay. So I ended up with a $400 tip from the least expected source ever. But I'll tell you what, I actually forgot that the girl had gone out on a maternity leave. Because she was gone so long. I don't know what happened. I don't even remember how long she had been gone, or maybe my brain just like entered a time vacuum. But I swear she didn't come back for like, I think it was like almost 3 months later. Maybe that's normal. I've never been pregnant, never had to go on maternity leave, so I don't know. But it just seemed like 3 months later, I came in and she was there, and I was like, holy fuck, you still work here? Like, I was just so, like, I thought she had quit after she went on maternity leave, or they had found a reason to fire her for falling asleep, because I had to nudge her awake several times. I don't know if it's just because she was pregnant and she was tired or what, but like there was a lot of sitting at our job, and I was training her on overnight. So I don't know if she was being hired for overnight. I don't know. I saw her that one day after she had had her baby. don't know, for some reason, I was just so floored that she was still in the department. Like, nobody had, like, mentioned her or anything after saying that she had gone out on maternity leave. And I guess I kind of just wrote her off because she wasn't in the space or on the schedule. I don't know, for some reason my brain just decided she didn't work there anymore. But apparently she did, because she showed back up suddenly out of nowhere. Like, I didn't even see her name on the schedule. She was just there, and I was like, okay. I didn't realize you were still here. And maybe that's just my weirdness, but, you know, it's like, all right. I saw her like 2 or 3 more times, and then I didn't see her anymore. And then they said that they had fired her. So, I think she fell asleep, and that's why they fired her again. Or I think she fell asleep again, that's why they fired her. Or she decided she couldn't do the hours or something, or she quit, I don't know. Something happened, and they're like, yeah, she doesn't work here anymore. I was like, okay. I don't know if she had a requirement to come back after maternity leave for a certain number of days. I don't know. The whole thing was really weird. Like, really weird. But they don't like to keep you around very long on the payroll in the casino if you ain't showing up. So, and our health insurance was pretty shit, so I was just really, really surprised. I would have rather that she stayed than the guy that they hired. Oh, that was not the pad. Than the guy they hired after that. He was not cut out to work in that department. He just wasn't. And I felt bad to a degree. The position involved a lot of customer interaction. You had to be able to communicate clearly with the customers. You were definitely a frontline employee. This wasn't like housekeeping or anything. You had to talk to people. And I get that housekeepers sometimes do have interaction with the guests, but not to this level. You know, you're giving directions, you're telling them, no, I can't contact your bank. Like, you have to have, like, full-ass conversations about, do you have this information? And, you know, explaining to people. So you have to understand, inside and out, how the process works to get these people credit, what you need from them to get them credit, and what's required of them to get you the documentation that you need. Alright, it's very involved. Very involved. Because there's not a paper application to fill out. We do the applications verbal. Or we did. Sometimes if you had a casino host, they would get the information from you. But not everybody has that. No Joe Schmo walking in off the street doesn't normally have a casino host. Usually the hosts are catering to the higher rollers and that sort of thing. You know, that's fine. But a lot of people also seem to think that casino credit was basically a credit card, and it wasn't. Well, okay. If I had to compare it to a credit card, I would compare it to, like, American Express, where you had to pay your bill in full. But even then, you weren't paying a bill. The marker that you were signing was going to your bank account. It was like you had wrote a check and you're like, don't cash it till this day. And if you didn't pay it off by other means before that day, it was going to the bank. And the money better be there or else it's going to bounce. So, but I would have much rather she stayed, because she kind of understood what we had to do. I'm not sure what the deal was with this gentleman. I don't know if he was just that anxious and just didn't understand, or if there was a language barrier issue where he didn't understand as much English as he presented, shall we say. I believe he worked as, we were under the impression that he worked as a waiter at one of the other restaurants at one of the other casinos in town. For some reason, our director was under that impression. So we're like, okay, well, you know, he's gonna have some understanding, right? Because, you know, he's gonna be taking orders and talking people through the menu and stuff, and writing down what people want. When we started to train him, I would explain something to him, and he would be constantly saying, okay. He wasn't really asking me many questions, and he would just be like, okay. And then when I was like, okay, so it's your turn, you tried to do X, and then he kind of looked at me like, huh? And I'm like, okay. So I'd walk him through it again. And I'm like, no, it's your turn. I told you how to do it. I just told you how to do it. Now you're going to do it while I walk you through it, kind of thing. I was like, okay, so do this. And now you're going to do this. It could have been anxiety. It could have been nerves. So I was a little apprehensive day one. But, you know, okay, fair enough. Well, by the time week 2 rolled around, I was still getting the okay as I was explaining how to do something, and then a blank look, and I'm like, okay. No questions about clarifying anything. It was very strange. And I was getting a little nervous. And then one of the days that he wasn't there, I sat down, and for like 3 hours, in my painstakingly neatest handwriting possible, because my handwriting is shit, wrote out for him how to do everything step by step that we had to do, so that when he was alone, if he panicked, he had something that would help him if no other clerks were on. For everything. And we had a lot that we had to do. For anywhere between, you know, setting up a brand new file. I even made a fake new file for him and highlighted different areas about, okay, all of this stuff has to get filled in. This has to get data entered into the computer. You know, these boxes have to make, you know, everything. Every single line where something had to be done. I had visual aids, all of it for him. And I said to one of the execs, I was like, hey, I'm trying my damnedest to get this dude trained. But, you know, I don't know how their first night alone is gonna go. 'Cause I'm not sure the understanding of what we've been talking about for the past month has sunk in. I'm having trouble even getting them to understand how to answer the phone, which really wasn't that difficult. You pick it up, you see what they need. If you need to go find the information, you hit the hold button. Even that was a bit difficult in this situation. So I was really beginning to wonder if they only knew the bare minimum in English to get by. And I was like, okay. Then I wasn't sure if, you know, is it that we can't read English? Like, it would have, more information would have been helpful to try to help this guy understand what he had to do. But if he couldn't read English, he was kind of screwed, because you needed to be able to do that in our department. You had to, because there was forms that had to be read, paperwork had to be entered from reports from banks. Like there was no getting around this. Like, I didn't know if he didn't know how to read at all. You know, and in which case, you know, we needed to work on that. And I could have tried to help him to a degree, but I was just concerned that he was not going to be able to do this on his own. And they're like, well, no, he'll probably be okay. And I'm like, all right. I said, well, I've made an entire packet of documents for him with notes, step by step, that I've gone over like 4 times, made it as clear as I possibly can. And they're like, okay. And I said, I put it in his mailbox. And they're like, okay. First night alone, he hung up on 3 different calls. The phone rang from our exec desk back to where we sat, and he didn't answer it, even though he was sitting right next to it. He couldn't get an application entered into the computer. It was like we had never trained him. And the exec that was on duty had to, like, do everything. And then when the next person came in on shift, like they were, like, trying to... I think they had to clean up the file because the guy couldn't get the file put together or something. And I think the exec told him to sign his name in a couple of places where it was necessary. It was just a huge disaster, and I'm like, I trained this guy. I don't, like, and I took it personally, because I'm the one that fucking trained him, and, you know, it's like, I did everything till I was blue in the face. I don't know what else you want me to do. Come to find out, I think he had been working as a bus person at one of the other restaurants in the casino, so he wasn't talking with customers. I think it slowly started to improve, but I quit, so I think I quit and he was still there. But we also had files that were getting misfiled non-stop, and we didn't know who was doing the misfiling. Like, I'd come in at least one night a week, and there'd be like 3 or 4 files that we couldn't find, and that was a big problem. We have to be able to put our hands on those documents, especially if a customer walks in and has a problem with their credit line. And we had 1, 2, 3. We had a solid standing wall of filing shelves. We had on like a shorter one, and then we had one that took up almost the entire wall, like up against like a support wall. And then in the middle, we had 3 more filing rows, front and back, that were on these roller bars or something, where there was like a ship wheel that you had to turn, or like a bank vault wheel to move them to get in between the rows, because they were so heavy, and like so that you could get in between. It was like compact, but had a lot of storage and stuff. So it was something. And right before I left, I think I spent 2 months, so not right before, but leading up to me leaving, I think it took me 2 to 3 months, like 3 nights, 4 nights a week, any night that wasn't busy or that I didn't have paperwork left over from day shift that still had to get done. Most of the time it was so slow towards the end of me leaving that that there wasn't anything left for me to do when I came in. All of the updates were done, all of the paperwork was done. I just had to sit there and babysit the desk and the department, because someone had to be there for the regulations. And that was tough, staying awake when there was absolutely nothing to do. Might be partially why I gained so much weight, because I had snacks that I brought with me that I would be eating to try to stay awake. Because midnight to 8 a.m. is a very long shift when there's nothing happening at all. I don't think anything tended to happen during the week until like 4 a.m. when the execs changed shift and they handed me back filing that had to get done, and then I had to check emails for subpoena requests to see if we had to send anything up to legal. But, you know, like 2 to 3 months, like approximately 3 to 4 nights a week, a couple hours a night, I was going through every single file we had and re-alphabetizing them. I found so many files that were out of place and we couldn't figure out who was doing it. Because we couldn't for sure pin it on somebody in our department. Because sometimes, for whatever reason, when somebody would, you know, pull money from their credit account out at the tables, they checked the signature cards. And sometimes, for reasons unknown to us, signatures were not always in the computer, even though we thought we scanned them. Maybe the computer was down, maybe somebody thought they had been scanned and they hadn't been, and they got put back without signature, or maybe the camera wasn't working well on that table or something. I don't know. Maybe it was blurry. And so we would have the people that would be checking the signatures from the cashier's cage going and pulling our files to get the signature off of the back of the application. And sometimes they put them back where they pulled them from. Sometimes they had a pile of them sitting there for whenever the next clerk walked by for them to grab. It was very loosey-goosey with them grabbing files to check them, which I wasn't a real big fan of because we were responsible for those. Always made me nervous when I saw a bunch of credit files just sitting there. I'm like, are you guys done with these? Because these need to go back. Like, we might be looking for this file and you might have it. And I don't want to start a panic if it's sitting over here. So that was always nerve-wracking. So we weren't sure if it was them misfiling it, because we had our own way of filing. And they were like, well, how can you fuck up alphabetical order? Well, it's easy because we would pull a file, and then to make our file back faster, we would pull the file behind it out like an inch to an inch and a half to help us find where the file lived faster, and then we would shove both files back in and push them back into place. So if you're not paying attention, you know, files get shoved in wherever. It was always a bit nerve-wracking because we never knew who was doing it. So then it got to the point where we were telling the people in the other department that were pulling the files to check the signatures, hey, cool that you're pulling this. Don't put them back. Just sit them on the shelf here. Because the file shelves, the file rows had these built-in shelves that you could pull out and slide back in. We had one on the back wall that didn't move. We always had a shelf pulled out and a bucket for them to put the files in. It was like, just put them back here in the bucket or next to the bucket and we'll deal with it. So many missed files. And every day I was coming in, oh, we can't find this one. Oh, we can't find this one. It's like, it can't have left the building. It has to be here. They weren't allowed to leave the department. Like, even when legal needed a copy of a file to take somebody to court for failure to pay their credit line, we had to make them a fake file, like a duplicate file that they could take out of the office, and they had to sign it out of the office with the director or an executive, so they knew where the file was, where the copy was. But the original always had to remain in our department. So it's like, where's the file, guys? So many nights, and some of them were high rollers, and we're like, oh shit, we need to get this, like, toot sweet. But I felt bad for him because he was just always such deer in headlights. Like, I'm like, are you gonna be okay? Like, I didn't know how to help the guy, but I ended up leaving. they were starting to talk about changing how they were doing things in the department and in the casino entirely, and that was making me a little nervous, and I didn't really want any parts of that, because there was talk of more table games going automated, where it was going to be more like a video table game than a dealer, and I felt bad for the dealers. The casino dealers, not any other type of dealer, casino dealer, cards and shit. So I felt kind of bad for them. And then they were talking about switching our department to not having an executive in the building until 6 a.m. when it had been 4 a.m. I didn't like that, because that throws me under the bus of dealing with these drunk people alone coming in between those 2 hours. And during the week, yeah, it might not be that busy, but it's whenever there wasn't an exec sitting at the desk is when I had a problem. Whenever there was an exec sitting there, it was like a fucking deterrent and nobody showed up. The second I didn't have an exec there, like, all hell broke loose. And there were multiple times where we had people walking in unannounced that had very high credit lines that were either inactive or they wanted an increase or something at 4 or 5 a.m. They just rolled right in and were like, "Hi, you're here unannounced. We did not know you were coming." And, you know, they want their ass kissed. That's how things worked in the casino industry. You had to kiss people's asses that had money if you were employed by that casino. And it was tough. And I'm like, I don't want to be thrown to the wolves here. Because I don't have an exec. I've seen how angry these customers get when there's nobody here. So, let's not. And then they're like, well, if somebody comes in, you'll have to call the director and wake him up. And I'm like, this is dumb. Why are we changing this for 2 hours when you're salary, not hourly? This makes no fucking sense. The execs were salary. My dumbass being a peon grunt in the back, I was hourly. It made more sense to make the clerks work less than it did the execs. I mean, they were getting paid the same amount. So I'm like, why are we tipping the apple cart now? And we can't really get away with that with the way the regulations are stated, because apparently, like, I think this was coming down from higher up. I don't believe this was our director that was wanting to do this. I think this was coming from higher up, and they're like, well, you know, let's try to do this. But in the regulations, it was stating that in order for table games to operate, there had to be, or for people to pull credit, there had to be a credit exec on duty. So I'm like, I'm not playing these games. Like, I'm not getting my ass in trouble. Like, you kidding me? We're not gonna fuck with the state of New Jersey. Oh, no. And we had a couple of the credit executives' cell phone numbers for when they wandered away from the desk, and they did away with the pagers that we had, because before we had pagers, we had to beep them to come back if we had a problem. But most of them had a cell phone carrier that got reception in the building. So then it got to the point where we were just calling their cell phones when we had a problem. We're like, yeah, you need to come back. Like, now. But there was a couple times where the one that was supposed to come in at 4 a.m., he was like, look, I'm going to be up anyway. He's like, just call me if there's an issue, and I can start to head in early, and, you know, you can get started on doing what you need to do so it's ready when I get there. And I'm like, all right, that's fine. But another problem is if a high roller came in and we had to get information on their line from other casinos, like doing the legwork for them to see how much they owed, depending on the credit line and depending on the casino, they wouldn't talk to a clerk. They wanted to talk to another executive. Like, some casinos were very strict about releasing information on credit lines that were over a certain limit. 90% of the time, I couldn't abide by that because I didn't have an exec sitting at the desk. My one overnight exec liked to wander. So he didn't sit there falling asleep, and he'd be out just perusing the casino floor, and I'm like, well, I can't exactly transfer this call to you if you're not at your fucking desk. So I would have to make a note that I gave the information out and to who, so that they could call them back and be like, hey, are they there? Are you just doing an update call? Like what's happening? Especially if it was in an in-town casino. So that we could figure out if we needed to be concerned if they were going to walk in or not. I mean, we didn't have that many high lines, but we did have a few. I'm trying to think of who was the highest credit line we had. I don't know. I think it was under 10 million. I think. I remember one person had a 6 million line. They were a ginormous pain in the ass. 100%. They got into a screaming match with one of my execs at like 5 in the morning. They started cursing out my exec, and my exec at the time committed the cardinal sin of any casino employee ever and cursed back at him. Huge no-no, especially considering they were a high roller. And she ended up getting fired for it. Although, to be fair, the person that was in charge of table games at the time that was overseeing them, he should have got in trouble too, because he wasn't doing anything to defuse the situation either. He could have been trying to usher the dude away, or, distract him or something. Dude was drunk, okay? He was so fucking drunk. His line was tapped out. He had already gotten a temporary extension. They weren't gonna give him any more money at that moment. It was gonna have to wait until we could get a hold of the director, because it was above my exec's pay grade anyway. And she was really hoping that he would go sleep it off or go get breakfast or something, and he kept coming back like every 10 minutes, and he was getting pissed off at her, and she's like, look, I'm waiting to hear from my boss. We can't do anything until I hear back from him. That's the way it is. And he didn't like that. So he pushed her a little too far, and she lost her temper, and so then she started cursing back at him, and I'm like, oh god, this is gonna be a thing. Then I had to fill out a witness statement for witnessing the thing, for what I did witness, and I only witnessed some of it. And I was just like, oh boy. And I couldn't hear what they were saying for most of the conversation, because it was loud in the back, because they were getting ready to do deposits and all kinds of stuff for the cash thing, and they were slamming carts around and banging all kinds of shit behind me, and it was getting pretty loud because it was around 6:30 at that point. But I was just like, wow. And they hadn't wanted to up his line because he owed so much. The exec that was on duty was like, he's been to like every house in town, bled out his line entirely. He's got a lot of money outstanding right now. I really don't want to up him. She didn't feel good about it. And then after the whole cursing out fiasco, and the director, I guess, trying to appease him, was like, alright, fine, we'll up you by this much. no more. That's gonna be it until some of this gets paid down. And then the dude declared bankruptcy and fucked everybody and never paid a dime, I don't think. Or ended up on a payment plan. I don't know. I don't know what happened. But he was just so desperate the way every house was maxed out around town. And I'm just like, something's wrong here. Looked like he was hoping to hit somewhere to pay some of this off so it didn't bounce at the bank. I mean, you see a lot of crazy shit. And some people, you just get that feeling that shit's gonna go south for them and that they're chasing to try to fix something. But chasing it isn't gonna happen. You get this vibe, and just the look on his face, it was just sheer desperation. I was like, this isn't gonna end well today. I wanted out of there so bad. So yeah, we probably got out at a good time, because then I heard that they were making changes that I would have really not been happy about, and then the director that I liked, I don't know if he got fired, got laid off, quit, retired, I don't know, but he wasn't there anymore. I don't think it was a retirement situation, because one of the execs got shoved into temporary director situation, and I don't think she really wanted any parts of it, but because she had been there longer than some of the others, she inadvertently got saddled with it. I think it was the last bit of bullshit she wanted to deal with. I don't even know if she's still there. She may have retired by now and gotten the fuck out. I don't know. I'm not on Facebook that much, and I don't see her posting on Facebook that much, but like, I have a Facebook thingy, and sometimes I will post on there to talk to some previous coworkers that I didn't hate from the craft store. Some of them rubbed me the wrong way, but some of them were alright, so I kept sort of, keep tabs on a couple of them. And but I'm only there to just kind of check in every so often with that, and to do postings for WoW challenges when I have to. But I don't really hang out on Facebook anymore. I got too much other shit going on. As it is, I have not wanted to be on Twitter the past couple days either. But one of my volunteer jobs at the moment is managing the social media accounts for WoW challenges, so I really haven't had much of a choice. I've had to at least check in, at least for the WoW challenges social media stuff. It's kind of, mostly restricted to game stuff. So their timeline hasn't been too crazy, but it's just some days I'm like, I've had enough of this shit. I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to deal with it. My brain's in enough turmoil as it is. I don't need help. Alright. We're getting there on this tree. Getting there. I think we're gonna need to do... Well, we have to finish up this frond. But I think we might bring one back this way, too. Like, down to here. What time is it, even? I don't even know. Oh, it's 7 o'clock. Oh, we got started really late today, didn't we? That one light's doing pretty good today, I think. We're not getting as much of a glare as we had been. Sometimes that light's enough, sometimes it's not. We also still have some daylight coming in behind me. Oh, you know what? We don't need to really... I think I will separate this out a little bit more. So tell me, what art projects are you all working on? Anything, nothing? Do you not dabble? Do you just like to watch? What hobbies do you all enjoy? I would love to know. So we need to, we really need to get a second day of art on here, I think. I just don't know what day that's going to be. I'd like to do another tissue paper project, honestly, but I don't know if I have enough tacky glue. And the last bottle I bought was like $8. I could probably get a coupon for Joann's and get one from them. But Joann's is a good drive from us, and I don't know if it's worth if the coupon price is worth the gas. You know what I mean? I gotta see how much it is on Amazon. I mean, the last bottle I got was from Walmart. It was a decent sized bottle. I just don't want to run out mid-project. I mean, I probably have enough for another project. I don't think I have enough canvas, though. I have to see what I'm at for canvases. I might have 2 left. I gotta check. Also gotta see what sizes they are. I kind of want some 8x10s. Eight by 10s fit our workspace a little bit better than the 11 by 14s. So this is kind of showing up fairly decently on the camera. I'm having a little trouble seeing at times here. If you hear the clacking in the background, that's the husband typing. We're in the same room with the PCs. It's the way it is. You're gonna hear him clacking. He's got a mechanical keyboard. We might nickname him the Clacker. Wasn't there a toy named the Clacker? It was like these 2 triangle things that kind of reminded me of like dowsing rods, but not really. And they were on a stick. And at the end of the triangular shape, there was a ball.
Oh, yeah, I remember those now.
Yeah, and then you would like shake them real hard back and forth, like up and down, and they would clack. A new nickname for the husband is the Clacker. But yeah, he's got a mechanical keyboard, so he's gonna clacky clack. Alright. Let me trim that. So it looks like I'm gonna need to make some more fluff. I think we have enough to get through this project. But at the end of it, I'm definitely going to need to. So we've got some fans running, and every so often I feel like something's crawling on me, and it's like a piece of stray fluff that got away. I'm like, what is touching me? What is touching me? And I'm looking, it's either a piece of my hair, which I have pulled up in a clip, so I'm like, I doubt it's me. But, you know, we'll see what happens with that. I will say my foot has fallen asleep with the way I'm sitting. That's fun. But you know, we've got such a small workspace here. I have a dream desk that I would like to have that would give me computer space on one side and art space on the other, and still be able to record stuff, because we could rig a camera setup pretty easily, I think. but we don't have the space for it where we're at right now. So that's a little disappointing, but you know, what can you do? Not a whole lot. Alright, I'm gonna take this one up and across for reasons, because I see a tiny spot that looks like it wants to be a problem. We're gonna try to cover that. As best as we can. So, depending on how this one comes out, it may or may not end up on the Etsy shop. The other one will at some point. I just have to get photos and figure out packaging weight and stuff. I don't have any plastic to wrap it in, though. I mean, I'd hate to waste the bubble wrap because it's not like it's gonna break, but we might have to make like a bubble wrappy thing. I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about that. I don't know how we're gonna package it. I don't have money for a lot of fancy shipping stuff. So you're gonna kind of get like eBay level packaging from my art shop, and I apologize. I don't have money for fancy branded printed boxes and shit like that. If I ever do get that kind of money, then yeah, totally all in. But you know, it takes money to do that shit. And when you're struggling to keep your bills paid, fancy packaging is like the last thing on your mind, or the last necessity. It's not a necessity to live, so gonna have to deal with the struggle bus packaging for a while. But at the same time, I'm torn because I would like to have the fancy branded packaging. But also, let's be perfectly honest. Who keeps that shit? Because the box was fancy, or it was a color, or it had this particular character on it. I get some people might for a little bit, but come on, we all know that 9 times out of 10, it's gonna end up in the recycling. And so all that hard-earned money that you spent on the fancy packaging is just getting put in the trash. So was it worth it? I don't know. Part of me wants to, they have like a lot of like the weird like little antique mall kitschy stores around here, where you can like rent out a booth space. But I don't have the money to even rent out the booth space. Like, I would just sell the shit locally or try to, but like, I don't know. I guess these people that are renting out these spaces have like 5 jobs, because I forever see the same stuff when we go, on the rare occasion that we do stop by one, just to get an idea of what they're selling. It's the same stuff every time. in the same booth, so it doesn't look like product is moving. So I'm like, how are they paying rent? Because some of these places, you have to pay rent, and I think they get a small portion of what you sold. So I'm like, huh, right. And I probably could try to set up an online website to sell on, but I think I might need to get business licenses, and then I might have to pay a monthly fee for the shopping option. And like, I could open a store on Kofi and sell through there, but then I have to pay the membership level. Right now my Kofi is a free version. So it's like, it takes money to try to make money, and we ain't got money. There ain't no money. I think we're down to like $5 in our checking account for like the next 2.5 weeks. So it's like, yeah, that's not gonna happen. I'll tell you, it's tough out there. Sorry, I'm trying to be a little extra. Oh, puppy, what did you do? Are you okay? You alright, Momo? He's been getting up out of his bed, or standing on his bed, which is a box that we had that he fell in love with. It's the only bed he's ever used, is this stupid box. He like stands on top of his pillow that's in there, and he's like shaking, like he'll do his like little puppy shake, like the little doggy shake of refluffing themselves or whatever. And he's doing it so hard and so full body that he's like slamming into the side of his bed, or his tail is or something, and it sounds really loud, like he fell over. He's scaring me, because I mean, I'm nervous about him because he had a back injury last year that we weren't sure what the outcome was going to be. It depended on, you know, quality of life and things and decisions that we didn't want to make because, you know, heartstrings and all, but if we had to make them, we would have made them. But we kind of let it be for a little bit, and he seems to have recovered to an extent. Because the vets, 2 different vets scared us. They're like, well, you know, we don't really know what happened. He would need an MRI for that, but we can't do that here. You'd have to go here. Like, they wanted to, one vet wanted to send us to a surgery center, and we didn't know where that was, and we're like, but we don't even know if you need surgery yet. And they're like, yeah, but we can't do the thing. And then you would be a new patient there, and they're a specialist, and so, you know, we're just like seeing the dollar signs like rack up in our head, and we're like, oh fuck. And just like all of the things, and we weren't even sure if this MRI was really necessary, if this was just an injury that was just going to take time, because they couldn't really see anything on the x-rays, or they saw like a compressed disc or something in the x-ray, but we weren't sure if that was his previous back injury or if this was something new. It was very confusing. And his previous one, they thought that he had just slipped a disc from what they could tell, and he was good in like a couple of weeks. This time was something whole ass different. It took him, I don't know, the better part of, I'm gonna say like 6 months, where we weren't sure what kind of outcome we were looking at. But he slowly started to return to himself. So we kind of kept pushing forward and seeing what was going to happen. And things seem to have worked out. And we've figured out how he tells us when he's not having a good day. Because he did have a bad day. We still had a couple of his pain pills squirreled away. And so we gave him that, and that seemed to sort him out again. So it might just be a thing where it just becomes a pain management issue when it flares up. But he's been doing pretty good the past couple of months. He's been wanting to go out more and more. He's begging for snacks again. So he definitely seems to be returning to his old Momo ways, shall we say. Alright. I'm gonna tuck these. We're almost out of blue fluff. We're gonna have to make some more. These are just Ziploc bags. I made my own storage. You know? It's easier to have fluff ready. And I just took the labels so I knew what the colors were. Although that might not have mattered much because this particular yarn line did away with some of the colors that we bought. So I don't know if I'm going to reorder yarn from them or if I'm going to go to someplace else. That's probably going to be a whichever way the sale prices happen to be wind blows situation. Alright, so Bob said he was taking the light gray that he used on the tree trunk and was putting it back on the tree, the frond thingies. So I do have this muted if you guys want to watch it in its entirety. We can post the link for you. If husband can do the paint command, we can get that.
Exclamation paint?
Yeah. We can get that posted in there for you. And that just goes to the link to this in full on the YouTube channel. Now he's using the same gray color that he used on the tree trunk to highlight it. And I'm not sure if we want to do that on here because these weren't like the same dark brown. Maybe we should have made them dark brown. Like I almost feel like we should use a lighter blue to highlight these, to be perfectly honest. I'm not sure if using the same taupey color that we did to highlight the tree trunks would be appropriate in this situation. Oh, is his... Okay, he's putting the grass in. We're not quite there yet, Bob. We're getting there. We're getting towards the end of this. There's not that much time left in the tutorial. Let's back this up here. So since his were that dark gray, blackish color, I feel like the lighter gray makes sense there. I don't know if the taupey highlights would necessarily work here. Like, it was a lighter gray, but it's not like in your face white gray. I'm actually kind of tempted to go with one of these blues. Like, I think this will be a little too white. This is our sky blue. Yeah, I think this will be a little too white on there. And I think our cornflower is gonna be too bright as well. I think I kind of want to hit this with our medium denim color. Or are we calling this dark denim? No, just denim. Okay. So I think this would be subdued enough where I think it would get the highlight point across without being a little too much. Maybe. We don't need a whole ass lot of this. So this might actually kind of try to melt into the background here. It might try to. I'm trying to find where my frond is. I've kind of lost it with the background. So he kind of like just subtly touched the frond rib or support or whatever the hell you want to call it. Oh, come back, scissors. Don't stab me. That wouldn't be good. Alright. So I need this to be a little bit subtle. If we can pull subtle off. I don't know if we can. So super skinny. It might melt into the background a tiny bit, but I'm gonna try to lay you on top of some of our other fronds here. I'm probably like not on everyone, and I guess it doesn't have to lay directly on top of everybody, and we could probably like split it out just a little bit. So we get a little bit of wisp happening. To kind of just give that like multiple gleaming look. I mean, you're gonna lose some of it into the darkness anyway, but might be alright. Oh cool, that one just kind of separated for us. Good, good. So yeah, I'm okay with it being a little fanned out here. So I think I've figured out why I keep sticking that finger in there that's not covered or protected, because I like to feel that I actually have a hold of the yarn, and it's hard to feel it with the covers on the fingers. So I think I just keep subconsciously going back and doing that. Alright, that's interesting. Let's get a little bit more of this on here. So I do apologize again for the Planet Zoo stream being cut so short on Friday, but we had a rough day on Friday and it was so damn hot in here that I was concerned that things were going to overheat. And I probably should have just canceled altogether, but I wanted to get in there and at least get a look at some of the new stuff. Alright, so Bob was like, be kind of subtle with it. And we're trying to be a little subtle with it, which is why I didn't want to go with like the sky blue. I mean, it would have been a brighter highlight, but at the same time, it might have been a little much. Oh. Yay for finger protectors there. Caught the needle on the edge of it. I mean, we don't want to destroy all of our dark underneath. It's definitely not what we want to do. Trying to separate this out a little bit. Remember, if you're going to try to separate out your strands, don't push down and separate. Just kind of do it on the surface without pushing your needle in. So if you push the needle in and then try to separate, you're just going to snap your needle. It's not going to do what you're thinking it's going to. You kind of have to pre-separate before you start stabbing. I do tend to go back over other spots as I go if it looks like some sections just aren't as attached as I would like them to be. Let me do a little snip snip there. So, just a note for my lurkers. I appreciate all of you, really do. I've come to realize that I know some people like to give the view, so they will mute the stream. That doesn't count as a view once you've muted the stream. Some people were muting the tab at the top, because for a while it was still counting you as a viewer, even with the tab muted. It doesn't seem to be doing that anymore. I've noticed where I've muted the tab at the top when I'm kind of hanging out in somebody else's stream, but I need to hear the audio of something else going on. I'll notice that it doesn't look like I'm being counted as a viewer at that point. So your safest bet, if you want to make sure that you're being counted as a viewer to somebody, would be to turn the volume on the stream itself almost all the way down, but have it just barely audible, and then it should still count as a view, I think, from my experimentation. So, I don't know if the mute the tab is still doing what it once did. You might want to experiment on your own and see how that goes for you. It was just something that I noticed. It could have just been a weirdness, but who the hell knows anymore? Alright, so not bad. Not bad. Off these little wispy guys here. I want you to be somewhat under control, but I still want you to be a little bit wispy. But I don't necessarily want you taken over. If I'd wanted that, then I just would have put you in this color to begin with. So we're gonna have little breaks and stuff where there might be shadows poking through. So that's fine. So if anybody's never able to catch a full live stream, this does get archived. Well, most of the live streams, not all, but most, get archived over on the YouTube channel. And we'll probably do the same thing that we did with the last needle felting project, where I'll compile all of the lives into a speed felt. Wonder how long this one would be. The last one, after everything was all said and done and was cut down and edited, I think that ended up editing down into, oh gosh, I think it was a little over 5 hours, 5.5 hours. So, not exactly a speed video, but they are all in one place. and put into one vid. Sorry, I have a little bit of orange from our under color. It's being stubborn and poking through there. Like, of all places for you to start to poke through. You're gonna try and do it there. So see, this isn't very bright on its own, but when we've got it up against that, it's kind of taking on like a glow feeling to it, so that's kind of cool. So this might work. See, I had a little fuzz. There it was. Just really want to nip that right now before that gets too out of hand. Alright, let's see here. Let's see if that did the trick. Kinda. I think I have one more little guy here. I'm gonna try to lay over this bit in here. Ended up being entirely too thick in that spot. Maybe the light's hitting that just so. Alright. Okay, I'm not gonna dwell on that too terribly much. I do need this to be a little organized here for the next one. So this next guy here. Start to get him. I keep going to like the very edge. I don't need to be. Everything is sliding now. Like, I don't need to be on the very edge up here. So we don't have to highlight every single part of this, but we do have to get some stuff in here for where we think the light would be hitting. Gonna turn this guy. It's easier for me. Don't be afraid to turn your artwork. Whatever's gonna work for you all. For some reason, I think a lot of us feel like there's this unwritten rule where you're not allowed to turn your artwork. So we're struggling to reach a specific point when we could have just turned it and it would have been like right in front of us. And also sometimes turning it to the side or upside down lets us see it from a different perspective, and maybe we don't like the way it looks from that side, or we've seen something that we need to adjust, you know? We need to not be so timid, some of us. Like, we're just creating. Not everything is gonna be a 100% all-out masterpiece every time. There's gonna be flops. There's gonna be stuff that we don't like the way it comes out. There's gonna be stuff that we're gonna see that we're gonna be like, oh, I should have done this. Or, oops, I did that backwards. We really should have done this. Along with all of the ones that we're gonna be like, yes, that came out awesome, or that came out better than I was expecting. I mean, there's gonna be both sides of the coin. But we can't improve, or we can't hope to improve without the fuck-ups. I mean, besides, you know, we're creating. Who gives a shit? You know? Sometimes our brains are tormented and muddled, and, you know, this is what comes out. You know, whatever happens to come out on that day. And, okay, fine, you know, if you don't want to show that to people, that's fine, but, you know, it's still something that you made. Maybe it helped you clarify your thoughts on that day, or maybe you just needed to do something, even if you just took some crowns and scribbled on a piece of paper. If that's what you were feeling doing that day, then cool. Go for it. One of the things that I did the most when I was dicking around painting was just colored blobs. And I don't think I have any photos of them. And I don't think I have, I'm pretty sure I don't have those pieces anymore. I think those got left when we moved, because I wasn't expecting to need to save them. And then I think the one closet they were being stored in got a mold attack or something, and pretty sure they all turned moldy, but I would buy like 16 by 20 canvases and just lay there on my bed, because that's the biggest surface I had at the time, and just paint colored blobs. Like, I would get some pencils and just draw weird blobby shapes. Like, nobody had a sharp corner on them. Well, they didn't usually. And we would just do stuff. And then, you know, I would grab a color of paint that struck my fancy, and we would start with that and just randomly put them in. Sometimes it was shades of one color. Sometimes it was just a rainbow of color choices. And then when I was all done doing that part, I would then come back in with the best liner brush, best condition liner brush that I had, the smallest one, and I would grab a color of paint that would remind me of like tile grout. Sometimes it would be like a light taupe color, sometimes it would be white. On occasion I used black, and I would go and outline everything. Everywhere two different blobs met. And then somehow I started to move away from that. Not sure why. I think it's well, I kind of know why. I started second guessing myself and what I was doing. And I kind of felt weird that, oh, this is what I'm doing, and looking at what other people were doing, and I fell into the trap of comparing what I was doing to what other people were doing, instead of just, you know, doing my thing. This is my thing. I lost confidence in my thing because I felt like it didn't measure up to what other people's things were, and it made me feel inadequate that that was my thing. But I've gotten to the point now where I still fall into that trap, that mental chasm of, oh, well, this is what other people are doing. This is what I'm doing. Why am I doing this? Like, people are like, oh, why are you doing that? No, it's like, oh, people aren't gonna like this because they like that. Forgetting that people can like a multitude of different things. And that we can all have our thing that brings us joy and happiness. And I'm starting to, I guess, stand up to my inner bully, I suppose is how to phrase it. Because, come on, we all know we're our own worst enemy at times. I am good at being my own worst enemy. I've got that in the books. I've nailed it. But at least when it comes to, you know, stuff that I put a lot of effort into and things, and you know, I've got to tell that inner bully, and I'm starting to get better at it, to shut the fuck up, that we're doing what we want to do, and we're gonna do it, and you can just go away. If you don't like it, inner bully, then tough shit. So that's kind of why I've started doing the needle felting and the tissue paper art. Oh, I love doing the tissue paper art. It's very time consuming, and it's definitely a labor of love. It's not a project that gets done quickly. So it's not like we would have a piece finished in a session. Definitely not, but does it matter if it's completed in one session if you enjoy doing it? No. It shouldn't matter. So that's why I've started to go back to doing that, and we'll probably get back to doing our blobby shape thingies. I'll probably be doing those on watercolor paper. That's what I've got the most of right now. At least until I can get some more canvas. I might ask for canvas and yarn for Christmas, so we can get some more yarn colors here and do some more different things, because I'd like to work on a few sunsets. We still have some roving, so I can do a little bit with that, but I don't want to run out of a color also, so because that might be a little bit more difficult to deal with if we've run out, because I don't have a comparable color to mix in with it. But alright, let's see. So we need to get a little bit of highlight on this guy. So this one's been a little messy. I've definitely seen things that I would probably do a little differently on this one, but this was also the first time we've tried to needle felt a nightscape, let alone ocean waves and stuff. So we definitely jumped feet first into this one. 100%. And for first time attempting this or something like this, like the whole needle felted nighttime thing, it hasn't come out too terrible. I mean, is it one of our most stellar projects? Probably not. I think I like the first episode we did a little better than this one, but, you know, we're learning. And like I said, they're not all gonna be fantastic masterpieces right out of the gate. But yeah, I hope maybe next week, gotta look at my bank account. I have a bank account that I keep money from Twitch in when the few and far times between that we get money from Twitch. And any like birthday money or stuff. I'll have to see what's in there. Maybe we can get a couple of things posted up on the Etsy shop since I keep putting the link everywhere. I feel bad that I don't have anything listed. But I have stuff to do this week, so I'm not gonna have time to dig through my stuff and check its condition to make sure it's still in sellable condition. I think a couple of the magnets might have a slight tiny imperfection on them from how they were stored, so I need to go through those. Just make sure, see who looks worthy of reposting. So maybe we'll repost the magnets, maybe we'll add the couple needle felted projects that we've done, probably the lighthouse and the sunset, the little 4x4-ish guy. It's hard to give accurate measurements because what I measure these things to be approximately before we start the project, they don't always end up being that same shape, so I try to do it as like a standard size, or at least a frame size that can be found. It doesn't always work out that way in the end, but I mean, let's face it, you could probably just get a mat and stick it over it and make it fit in a frame. Even if you have to go a little bit bigger and then get a mat that's like the right sized opening. Because you might need to mat some of these, or at least get a chunky frame where you're not going to see the edge very well, or the opening's a little bit, the display opening's a little bit smaller, because these get a little wonky on the edges. If that doesn't bother you, hey, cool. But yeah, these would come unframed, the felted projects. If you get any off of the shop. Number one, I'm not a huge fan, well, actually everything comes unframed. I'm not a huge fan of shipping frames. To me, that's just asking for the glass to break, number one. Number two, I think they tell you to pick a frame that's going to match your decor, not that's going to match the painting. And I don't know what people's decor looks like, so. Oh no, you're fine. You are fine. No worries. I'm used to people lurking, bouncing in and out. Trust me, I've got a husband that has anxiety issues, so sometimes I have to vanish and and if he's having a bad anxiety attack, I've got 2 dogs that sometimes demand that they go potty right now, and the husband's not always available to take them out while I'm doing this. You know, I get it. I totally get it. Oh, your question's being answered.
Oh, well, that's good. Nice to know they treated you well.
Yeah, not everybody does.
That's a rareness in this world nowadays.
Yeah. I kind of wish that the pregnant girl from the casino had stayed. I mean, I'm sure the other guy was very nice, but it was just very frustrating when, after 3 months, nothing was sticking. I think they had to start putting him on during the day when there was another clerk there that could help him. Because if they had him on at night, he couldn't be left alone for even like 5 minutes. Alright, we've got a little spot here. I keep trying to make it work, but it's being fussy. So let me go and grab that. Yeah, I mean, some people are great bosses. Other people, and great managers. There's other people that should not be allowed to hold positions of any real significance in certain industries. I had one assistant manager I loved when I worked for the craft store. He was great. He was funny. He had a personality. And I vibed well with him. There was another one that, well, I kind of vibed with him. I got super annoyed that 90% of the time after the store manager left for the day at the craft store, that I suddenly became manager on duty, because half the time I couldn't find him. And when you're running front end and you need a manager, that's a problem. And like 90% of the time he'd be out front smoking, so he wouldn't hear the pages going off. He'd be like near the front door smoking, and I'm like, get in here, I need you, I've been paging you for 5 minutes. And you know, because I can't, some decisions I could make on the fly, but if it was a decision that needed a manager's code, I couldn't do that because I didn't have the manager's codes. And I wasn't gonna do that, especially when I had a difficult customer, because I handled returns and stuff. And some people just were too much. And I'm gonna be perfectly honest. If you're gonna bitch out somebody and give them a hard time over a refund, when you don't have the receipt and can't prove how much you paid for the item, and technically, since you don't have the receipt and they can't prove you bought the item there, they don't have to take it back. They're really doing a kindness in doing so to help you out, especially when there's no proof even on the packaging that it came from your chain, because a lot of the stuff we sold, our competitor Michael's, that was literally right down the street, sold the same thing. You know, like, we couldn't prove that you bought it from us. Some of the stuff we could. Some of the stuff was chain brand and would have the name on it. So okay, that we know you got there. But some stuff didn't. And both places would carry the same items. Like, we did price comparison shopping all the time at Michael's because they were like 5 minutes down the street. So our store manager would be in there like 3 or 4 times a week, half the time, with notebooks and walking the aisles and taking pictures and writing stuff down and writing barcodes down, and we would end up with like the same products because he would talk to our buyers and he's like, yeah, I want this, we need this is really popular over there, and like this is the price point they're selling it at. But we also had 40 off coupons. That was the lowest an item ever was, except in the rare occasion where if it was like a 50% off sale, that didn't happen very often. So we had a return policy of no receipt. If you did buy it with us, we'll take it back. There was no time limit, but we would only take it back at 40% off. Because we could not prove, and you could not prove, how much you paid for it. And that was only if we still had the item in the store. Like, if we still carry the item, okay. Sure. One year at Christmas. Now, I'll tell you that sometimes when the Christmas shopping season, fourth quarter, kicked around, I'm no stranger to retail practices. I worked for the craft store for 6 years. We would use that time of year to clean out the stockroom, if at all possible. So if we had like craft kits that were discontinued or that we still had sitting back there that had gotten pulled down, they got pulled out of the shelf setups, you know, and the company didn't say ship them back or whatever, we were just stuck with them. We would try to sell them down on the shelves as we could, but we would start to, you know, every so often if we had a table display of craft kits, because I merchandise the kids' crafts department, if like one of this brand got pulled out and replaced with something else, if we did a table display and that item was on sale that week, we would throw the one that we weren't carrying anymore on the table, like on the top, and be like, hey, buy me, get rid of me, I don't have a spot for you. You know, but it was during the fourth quarter. I actually think it was the end of fourth quarter, because we were in the middle of inventory, and inventory usually started for us internally the day after Christmas. I'm not gonna lie, because the Regis, who was our outside inventory company, only would come in and do the shelves on the sales floor. They wouldn't do our stockroom. I don't know if that was internal policy or Regis's policy, but our stockroom was a goddamn disaster, so probably best that they weren't in there fumbling around. And we knew how the aisles were set up, what departments for what aisles and things. Like, we had them marked off and stuff. And so we would do internal counts ahead of Regis coming in. We would do our own inventory on the small shit. Like, they didn't count loose items because it slowed them down. So anything that was considered a loose or individual item, they didn't touch. So, like, bulk buy individual sun catchers, suction cups, those little tiny wooden cutout letters that were in bins, loose, that you could just grab 1 or 2 of. Individual pieces of scrapbook paper, cookie cutters, rubber stamps, I can't remember who inventoried the craft paint aisle. I think we might have done that because that was a little complicated. We had a display of little plastic animal figurines. We had to do that. We had a Hello Kitty display. We had to do that because the pricing was so wonky, and we had like a special book that we had to look the shit up in, or we had to scan it. It was a goddamn nightmare. There was stuff at the front registers that we also had to inventory. So when I was running front end, when I was no longer merchandising, we had storage in the registers for register displays. So at one point, these fucking Lego pens were like the hot shit. And they didn't sell. Like, we thought they were gonna be the hot shit, or somebody at the company thought they were gonna be. And they didn't sell, so we had about like 500 of them shoved in like 2 different registers, like 500 each, and I'd be down on my hands and knees, my ass sticking out from under the shelving in the register, trying to pull them all forward, pull them all out, and count them as I'm putting them back. You know, customers trying to ask me questions, trying to run register in between. I was like counting them during the breaks and things, and it was a fucking nightmare. But we had this lady come in, and I'm like digging underneath of a register trying to find all the shit that had to be counted under it. And one of the other supervisors was like, "Hey, come here." I'm like, "What?" She's like, "You merchandised kids crafts, right, for a while?" I was like, "Yeah." She goes, "You ever seen this craft kit before?" The box was yellowing. It was so old. It looked like if you touched it, it was gonna disintegrate. And I'm just standing there looking at this craft kit, and I'm like, what the fuck? It looked like it had been through the war. We certainly didn't carry the brand anymore. We didn't have it on the shelves. We didn't even know what price to compare it to. Because we were just like, what in the fucking hell? And I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh, I don't know about this. I was like, I've never seen this before. We tried scanning it. It didn't come up in our system. It was like, item not found. And I'm looking at the other supervisor, and they had made me lead front end person, and they're like looking at me like, well, and I'm like, well, what? It's not coming up in the system. Like, I don't know what you want me to do. I was like, this is going to be a manager decision, because I don't even have a price to start this off with. And I was like, lady, you don't have the receipt? She's like, no. And then she started getting belligerent about, I bought this here, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, ma'am, you may have bought it here, but you haven't bought it here within the last 3 years. So I don't know what to tell you. We may not carry this anymore. It's not coming up in our system. I was like, we're going to have to get a manager's approval on this. And she was raising holy hell. I'm like, ma'am, you can... I can't do anything without a manager's approval on this. I'm sorry. And then she's like, oh, you don't believe me that I bought this? I'm like, ma'am, you may have bought this here years ago. I've never seen this. I merchandised this department, ordering, putting up displays, doing the inventory for this department for the past 3.5 years. I've never seen this item. So we need to get a manager. The store manager came up, and he's looking at it, and he's like, what the fuck? And he didn't want to take it back. And the lady was just berating him so fucking hard that he finally gave in, and he's like, look, we can try to find a kit that's comparable to it in size and type, but it's gonna be 40% off because you don't have the receipt. And of course that set her sideways. And you know, I'm like, well, then hold on to your goddamn receipt. And just, oh, so unnecessary ugliness. And I'm like, if you don't have the receipt... She didn't want the 40% off. She stormed out and threw the thing on the counter. And I'm like, what? Oh, okay, thank you. You have a good night. thanks for popping in. Thanks for the follow. Hope you have a good one. Appreciate it. No worries. We do art on Sundays. Hopefully I'll see you again. And the live streams get archived on the YouTube channel too, if you want to see it in its entirety. But yeah, I mean, lady was just, I'm like, why would you throw it on the counter and walk out? Like, we opened it up after she left. Half the shit was missing from it. It was an effing mess. And I think later, as we were trying to figure it out, I think someone's like, oh yeah, they had that at Michael's. Or it was from a different AC Moore location or something. But it was like from the 80s, like late 80s. And I'm like, no, why would we take this back? It's terrible. So you worked in the restaurant industry for 30 years. You've seen it all, good, bad, ugly. Humans are capable, incredible, generosity, and also insane stinginess and deceit. Because you've been on the receiving end of some pretty damn forgiving customers. Service policies and being very grateful. But yeah, no, I hated the return policy there. It was too... If you're gonna take returns, the policy needs to be fucking black and white. This is what it is, no exceptions. And there was a lot left to discretion in that return policy for them. Like, a lot. There was shit that I never would have taken back that really had no business coming back, that I've had managers say, go ahead and take it back. And I'm like kind of flabbergasted just looking at them, like the puppy head tilt, like with my teeth clenched, like, are you sure? I don't know about this. And they're like, take it back. And I'm like, okay. And all the while you've got like the customer like being all smug and snippy and like, haha, I got one up on you. You have to take it back. And I'm just like, not actually saying that, but, you know, giving off that vibe. Because you can tell after working front-end customer service in some places, and even if you've just worked somewhere long enough, you can tell when somebody's being a douche. You can tell when they're not. Something's up. Like, what? You want me to what? No. But, I've seen some things. I had a lady one time in the middle of a fucking terrible Saturday. Absolutely terrible. We were slammed to high heaven. It was just a god-awful day. And I had been in since 7 a.m., so I'd actually gotten up at like 5:30 because I had to get to the store to do cash office and get the registers set up and do deposits and shit. And in the middle of the afternoon, kids are going on breaks. I'm trying to make sure that the kids are obeying their break rules and shit so we don't get fined, and trying to deal with purchase orders, and we're just so slammed. The management's getting pissy because we have lines like out the wazoo, and I'm like, what would you like me to do? The kids need to go to lunch. Like, cope. Like, there's an open register right there. How about the assistant manager gets on register? Or are you guys gonna run price checks for me? Like, is somebody gonna stand up here to help? Like, what? What do you want? What do you want from me? I'm doing the fucking best that I can. And in the middle of the fucking mayhem, huge line on both sides of customer service. Somebody at our front door?
Yeah.
Oh.
Hang on just a second, Eileen. PC's sitting there growling.
Oh. He's still coming back, huh? Sorry. Porch cat has arrived. We need to feed him. One of the porch cats, shall we say. We have 2 furry stepchildren that we like to refer to them as that come to visit us. One of the furry stepchildren, who we've named Nom Noms, because that's all he fucking does, doesn't like PC, the original furry stepchild, and will rip him a new one. And PC has lost many a fight of territory over the house, but he keeps coming back. So we need to feed him. But anyhow, in the middle of all this chaos and mayhem, I haven't had 5 minutes to breathe. And there's this kid in my line. And I'm like, why is he in my line? And he's got something in his hand, and I'm like, oh, maybe mom's shopping and she wants to exchange this, so she left the kid to hold the place in line while she goes back to get the thing that she really needed. Fine, whatever. No. Mom sent kid in. Mom is sitting outside in the car, sitting in the fire lane that you're not supposed to be parked in, right in front of the door. Sent kid in to do a return to a credit card that we needed mom to sign for. Kid couldn't have been more than 10 years old. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing this. And I'm like, I'm like, what? Maybe I was being a bitch that day. Because some people are like, why did you make the mom come in? And I'm like, it was on a fucking credit card. It wasn't for cash. If it was for cash, I would have been fine, whatever. But we have to have IDs. And kid hands me mom's ID. And I'm like, really? I had enough. I just couldn't. I was so done at that point. I was like, go ahead, fucking fire me. I don't care anymore. I will go work at Michael's then, because what? It was so fucking dumb. And I'm just like, really? Really? You can't even get the fuck out of the car and stand in line yourself. And it wasn't like there was anything wrong with mom. Mom was perfectly fine. Mom was a bitch, okay? Why would you send a 10-year-old in to do a return on the credit card? What if the 10-year-old dropped the card? What if somebody stole it from him? Like, that's a lot of pressure to put on a 10-year-old. Like, what? I was mad. I was like, your mom needs to come in and sign this. If she's here. Maybe I was being a bit of a bitch that day. But I had fucking enough. And then mom comes in bitching at the kid. I'm like, ma'am, it's your credit card. You need to sign for it. And you need to sign the paperwork that we have here. Because she was like giving him a bunch of shit. And I'm like, lady, I'm the one that said you had to come in. Don't be bitching out your kid. It's your return on your credit card. You need to sign for it. Because this little boy is obviously not the female on this driver's license who's like 30 years older than him. Let's just stop, okay? Let's just stop your entitled ass right here, right now. Call and complain. I don't give a shit at this point. No. I'm sorry. I wanted to lay eyes on this lady. We had, policies had gotten to the point where we had to be getting driver's license numbers and shit because of fraud rings and stuff going around. I wanted to lay eyes on this lady, or at least have the cameras up front lay eyes on her. I don't know what the fuck this was about. I mean, yeah, she had a credit card, but was, you know, I still wanted proof that she came in and she did this. Like, nope, we're not doing this. We're not playing this game. Not doing it. Don't fuck with your customer service people. They have a hard enough day as it is. Trust me, you might feel high and mighty for giving somebody shit, but please remember, they didn't make the store's policies. They're just the messenger. If you really have that big of a problem with the store policy that you're gonna put up a fuss, just be polite, as polite as you can, and talk to the manager or talk to someone at corporate. I mean, half the time the manager has no control over the store policy either. But, you know, let's see, where do we want? Alright, that one's kind of sitting in the back, so I think we'll not highlight that one. We are going to highlight this one. Sorry, I want to derail for a second. But yeah, don't take it out on the messengers, please. Trust me, they're not getting paid enough to deal with your bullshit. Okay? They're really not. Management, they're probably getting paid enough to deal with your bullshit, but certainly not the poor minion that's in front of you that's just trying to get a paycheck to put food on the table, who has no say in the store's policy procedures whatsoever. They just do what the fuck they're told. Alright? Let's just, you know, try to be respectful, please. You can be upset, but also make sure you understand the store's return policy. If what you're buying might need to come back, maybe find that out before you buy the thing. I mean, some of this responsibility is also on you as the purchaser. Just saying. Alright. I had really wanted to finish this today, but I really need to eat, and it's getting late, and I've got a shit ton of stuff I have to do, and I'm smoothing the wrong side of this. So we've gotten started on our highlights on our trees here. I think we're gonna stop here for tonight because I really need to eat, and I didn't realize that it was quite so late because we got started late, and I've got a shit ton of other stuff to do. Although if I don't fall asleep until 7 a.m. again, I guess I'll just be doing stuff up until 7 a.m. again. But yeah, so I do thank you guys for hanging out with me, listening to me bitch about different things. Sorry if I didn't finish a story or if it was rather disjointed. My brain gets scattered on a good day. So if there was a story that I'm ever in the middle of telling and you actually wanted to hear the end of it, feel free to say in chat to remind me what the hell we were talking about. Because sometimes I just go and I get distracted and then I don't remember what we were originally talking about. And you are perfectly allowed to remind me to finish the thing. But we're getting there. We don't have that much further to go. So here's the plan for next Sunday. We'll finish up putting the highlight on this tree. I don't know if we're going to highlight that frond because I've got these ones sitting in front of it. We'll see when we get there. That one's going to be a little bit of a question. It's kind of blended in there, but we'll see what happens. I think I want to deal with these guys first. But we have to finish up the highlight here. He's putting in some grassy things down here. Like some dune grass or whatever. And I don't think we really have that much further to go on this one. Next Sunday might wrap this up, maybe, because there's only like 4, There's only like under 5 minutes left in the tutorial, and I feel bad that we're not finishing tonight, but we'll probably be here till 10 if I finish tonight, so, and I need to go eat. But yeah, thanks for popping in and hanging out. Like I said, once we're done working on this guy, we're going to take a break and we'll do some painting for a little bit, and then we'll come back to working on this series. We'll come back to episode 3. Episode 3 is a daytime one, so we won't be quite so dark. Episode 3 is called, Bubbling Stream. Oh, and that's gonna do an ad that we don't need to see there. Come on, YouTube. Let me skip the thing. Okay, there we go. So, episode 3 looks a little something like that. I think we can do that. It might look a little messy, but we should be able to do that one just fine. Episode 4 is another white canvas, so we won't be quite as dark, but it is a winter one. So, it's kind of grayish tones and stuff. That one might be a little bit more difficult to pull off. Maybe. We'll try. 5 is gonna be difficult, cause, stop it with the ads. It's kind of one color that he's doing, but I think we might be able to improvise and figure something out there. Like I said, since we're not using paint, we have specific colors at our disposal, so we might have to get a little creative with how we're doing things. But we might give that one a go. I think there's only 1 or 2 that we definitely won't be doing. And then, you know, we've got a covered bridge still. So, well, we might, I think we can we get the ads out of here? I'm not paying for YouTube. But like that we can do, shouldn't be that difficult. I say that, but you know. But I think that's something we can definitely pull off and stuff. So, we won't be doing campfire. I don't have the right colors, and that's a little beyond. I feel like it would get a little too weird. But most of them we're going to try to do, and I think most of them we can do. Campfire is definitely off the table, though. But like I said, we've got plenty of things that we can figure out to pick and choose from. But yeah, we're gonna work on a painting project after this one. We'll get out the craft paints, and we'll get back to work on our flamingo. I need to finish sketching the flamingo and try to clean that sketch up, because it's a little dirty, it's a little messy from where I kept changing my mind about what I wanted to put in. But you know, the paint should cover that for the most part. I might have to gesso that one part if it looks a little too dirty from any graphite that's refusing to lift off, but we'll figure it out when we get there. But thank you guys for popping in. Thank you for the follow, 9. I do appreciate that, even if it did scare the shit out of me. And we will see you on Wednesday for sure for WoW Challenges leveling in World of Warcraft. We've got 3 classes left to go for the Bloodthirsty Challenge. We have the Warrior, the Shaman, and the Demon Hunter left remaining, which I need to go and work on after I make dinner. And we've got some Parkitect. We've got more Parkitect. I thought we were getting close to finishing the campaigns in Parkitect. We are not. I think we're only halfway, to be perfectly honest. I did not realize there was that many campaign maps in that one, so yeah, we've got a ways to go on that one, or until I finally lose my patience with it. We'll see what happens first. And Friday we'll be diving back into Planet Zoo. And Saturdays I'm usually dark because I'm helping out with the Wild Challenges podcast, and then we'll be doing more art next Sunday. Now, tonight I'm probably not going to have time to do a Micless Minecraft, so make sure that you're following here and you have your notifications turned on, because Micless Minecraft is not something I'm going to be broadcasting on Twitter, that I'm going to be doing it. I might from time to time, but generally it's just going to be a spur of the moment thing. Hey, we're doing this. Or I might just go live suddenly. And in Micless Minecraft, I'm not talking, there's no commentary. It's just the game with the game sounds on running. I can't have the music playing anymore because when I archived it over to YouTube, they hit me with a copyright claim on two of the songs. So I'm like, I'm not dealing with this, because I had to. There's 2 sections where all of the sound disappears in the first episode for like 2 minutes. That was because I had to mute those 2 songs. I had to cut them out. And I didn't feel like replacing it because it's Minecraft, and I didn't feel like trying to find a song that would fit in there. So we're running without the game music now to avoid problems, which is so dumb. I bought the game. I should be able to, as long as I'm playing, I should be able to have the music running without getting claims struck and whatever. But that's another whole can of worms. So yeah, we might do that tomorrow, and maybe Tuesday. It's late night things, so that wouldn't happen until at least 10 p.m. 10 p.m. Central. So, cause that's the time zone I'm in. So, yeah. So thank you guys. I appreciate you popping in. We're just about done. I think we will be done next week. Bold claim, but I think we will be. And so you guys take care. You guys have a good week. Stay safe. Stay sane. Stay out of trouble. And I hope to see you guys on Wednesday. Until then, have a good one.